Hi, my name is Zaak Kerstetter with KMG Academy in Boulder, Colorado, and welcome to another KMG video series where every week we're going to take a look at a cool, interesting feature in Ableton Live or something related to music production with Live. And today I'm going to talk about one of my absolute favorite kind of hidden-ish features, which is modulation. So back in Live 8, you could modulate things and you could automate things. And then in Live 9, they kind of removed it a little bit. It was still there, but it was hidden. And in Live 10, they brought it back in a really cool, interesting way, even though it's all the same feature. But a lot of people just don't even know this feature exists. So to start off, let's take a look at an example here. And right here, we just have a single note. There's just one super boring bass note played on operator. Sounds like that. Nothing too exciting. And so if we would like to automate, for example, our filter frequency, we want our filter to move up and down. Say we want our filter to start low and then move up like that. What we could do is go to our clip and hit the envelope button right here. It's going to open up our envelope box, and we can move back and forth in between editing our MIDI notes or editing our envelope. And then here we can choose within two drop-down menus. The first is going to allow us to pick which device we're working with, and the second will choose the specific parameter within that device. So we wanted our filter frequency on our operator, and that's already been selected because that was the last button we clicked on. And here we can see this dotted pink line represents our automation. And if it's dotted, that means there's no automation. It's just sitting at whatever value. And if I mouse over it, it tells me it's sitting at 15,000 hertz, or almost 16,000 hertz. So if I'd like to add some automation, I can click to add a breakpoint. I can click somewhere else to add a breakpoint somewhere else. And now, if I drag down, it's going to start our filter frequency high and then move down to be lower over time. If you've been using Live for a while, that's probably super basic information you've heard before. But if I wanted to, say, do something a little different with this, say I want this filter frequency to go up, but say I want to also make it a little fancier than this. I want this to like move around a little bit while also still kind of moving up. That's where we can start adding in modulation. So here we have automation, and if I click on this button here, we have modulation. So the key difference between automation and modulation is that automation is an exact value, right? Our filter is going exactly from, in this case, 67 hertz to 11,000 hertz. Modulation is a percentage of whatever the knob is set at, or the parameter is set at. So we can see here is 0%, and we can go up to 50% in either direction. This is super cool for a couple of reasons. Number one, I can have both automation and modulation happening simultaneously, which means I could add in a bunch of breakpoints here. I'm just kind of randomly adding them in here. And what's going to happen, since both are happening at the same time, the automation is going to be moving slowly upwards over time, and the modulation is going to be moving up and down like this simultaneously. And if we take a look actually at our knob here, you're going to see the knob itself moving, the kind of black line representing the knob moving, but also the blue line representing the value also moving simultaneously. Like that. So you can see the knob is representing the automation of it slowly moving up, and the blue line is representing the modulation of it moving up and down. So that's kind of like the first practical example of when this might be useful, is that you can have multiple things changing at the same time. So you can maintain your automation while also having modulation. Now let's go ahead and we'll clear both of those. So now we don't have either anymore. Another situation that you might run into is if I have automation going on, where again it's going low to high right here, and I say I want to change this a little bit. Say I want to manually, say I'm on stage and I want to like manually play with my filter. As soon as I change that filter frequency setting, you can see our pink dot representing our automation is going to be grayed out, and if we check out our automation here, it's grayed out. Doesn't do anything anymore. It didn't delete it, it didn't override it, but it temporarily deactivated it, right? And I can hit the re-enable automation button here to re-enable it, and that turns it back on. But as soon as I touch it again, it's grayed out and doesn't do anything and doesn't do my automation. So, and that's because, like I said, automation is an absolute value. So if you change that absolute value, Live assumes that you meant to do that and won't change it back for you until you manually tell it to go back. However, if I delete that and I go to modulation, I could have modulation start low and then go high like this. and it'll do its thing. You can see the blue line moving with it. But if I were to manually move this, it still works, because it's based off of the position of the knob, or position of the parameter, which is really cool. So it gives me flexibility to change values of something that is also moving on its own. So those are a couple cool, like, different examples of situations where it might be useful. There's a lot of them, but for the most part, automation is what people are going to be using because it's the easy kind of like accessible option. But I love that they added back in this button, or they added this button here, so you can start playing with modulation. So let's take a look at another example here. Here we have a bit more of like a rhythm here, and we'll actually play it with the drum beat. And in this situation, we'll do something kind of similar. Let's have the filter frequency move up. We'll have it start high and then go low. And I'm just going to select this and hit Command D to duplicate it. All the key commands that work for editing automation and things like that work exactly the same for modulation. So I can go in here and I can start, like, kind of randomly adding stuff. I can also do things like use these kind of like preset automation shapes. So I could do like little sine waves. Let's actually try that. That actually looks cool. We'll copy that and we will paste that here. So we have essentially two LFOs happening simultaneously. We have one that's kind of this saw wave going down every bar, and we have another one that's going to be this kind of sine wave that's going up and down every bar as well. Just to see what happens. I'm not sure what this will sound like. Hopefully it sounds cool. So they're both going down at the same time. So let's offset these a little bit. Let's actually make them faster. This could be cool. We'll make this like that. And I'm just using just right-clicking, hitting the shape that I want, and hitting Command D to duplicate around. So now it'll move up and down a little bit. And so you can see they're both moving up and down kind of separately from each other. So it adds a lot of like cool, fun possibilities. I can even do something like make this a slightly different shape. So they're gonna be kind of offset from each other. So you can make this kind of like arrhythmic, almost like polyrhythmic automation going on with it. But really cool feature, often forgotten about because people just don't know it exists, because in Live 9 you could do it. The only way to find your modulation previously was you had to right-click on a parameter and hit Show Modulation. That was the only way to do it. Now you just go into the clip itself, switch back and forth between the two, and mix and match them to your heart's content. But really, really fun option. Last thing I would like to point out is if you are modulating things within the arrangement view. So if I copy this and I paste this over here to my arrangement view, you'll notice that the automation is still within the track, which if you've been automating things in Live before, that's how it behaves normally. Whereas the modulation will still be within the clip down here. So watch out for that. It still exists, it's still happening, but you're gonna be editing it down here, whereas your automation, you're gonna be editing up here. So other than that, works exactly the same way, but really fun feature, a lot of potential options here for doing like really cool, crazy combinations of things going on simultaneously. Also a lot of potential for live performance, allowing you to control your parameters while also making them behave in specific ways for modulating them. So that's basically it. Hopefully you enjoyed watching that. It's the kind of feature that I think some people will find is really, really cool. I really love it, but is often forgotten about. So keep an eye out for more videos coming real soon from KMG. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you later.